Mikey, some kids have started school again. Insanity. Yeah. Take a picture with the phone of the QR code. We are live on X, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Tell you what, Facebook's amazing, Brenda, the number of people that can find you. Maybe you hadn't seen in a while, like Coach Max Howell, and he'll be on with us Monday. Love that guy. God.
Rob, I was posting reels of your show yesterday while in line for the roller coaster at Universal. Don't tell me about Facebook, son, because Facebook has been getting big because Daddy's been making it big.
Yeah,
So
no,
don't worry about it.
Thank you. Look, we do this live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Got the shows, the Buddy Martin Show at night. We got Scarborough Knows, AU Undercover. We got so many shows on this channel. The best EP on the planet, who's celebrating with his daughter down at Universal Studios. How much fun is that? We got Jason Caldwell.
Gryffindor, bitches. That's how we roll around here.
Got to have the pass.
Don't talk to me about Harry Potter. I know about Harry Potter. I know about all that stuff, and I don't want to bore anybody else out because we got a really good guy in here named Jason Caldwell.
Jason Caldwell
in here right now.
One of the True Grit journalists, along with Frank Duffy. Doug Dean join us here in a minute. Jason, man, a lot happened yesterday. You're on the go nonstop. I noticed at media days, the writers, y'all are so myopically focused on typing and getting out content and trying to get, good sound bites, but just listening to what these guys say. So the AU Undercover team, 24/7 Sports, puts out content like nobody else. The message yesterday about the executive order, they last 90 days. I think it's a show thing, but it's long term. It's going to be gobbled up. And kind of explain. Doug Dean said, and he'll be on with us in a minute. Explain just for the average Joe Sixpack out there what this means, in your opinion.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell. I hope it does at least create some sort of rules again. Because like I've said many times, I'm afraid that if this thing just gets cleared and every deal gets cleared, then we might as well blow it up, because I think then it's already worse than the NFL, because at least the NFL does have a contract. But if this doesn't work and you just clear every deal out there, then we're going to have $50 and $60 million football rosters in college football. And people have talked about for years, well, what's going to happen? Are fans going to get tired of it? They are. When you start doing that, they are, and it's going to happen. So right now, this is basically, hey, those third-party deals, basically this lines up with the College Sports Commission going, hey, the third-party deals have to be cleared. They have to be legitimate deals. Here's the way it's going to work. Will that stand up? I don't know. Probably not, because there's too many people making too much money continuing to come after these and go, nope, that doesn't work. Well, the reason why they don't want it to work is because they keep making money off of that. So hopefully it will stand up and somebody will go, yeah, hey, look, for the future of college athletics, we need to have some guardrails. Maybe it will. I don't have a whole lot of faith in that, because there's too many people getting rich. And so when that happens, normally that's a bad sign.
Yeah, billable hours, accountants and attorneys are the big winners here. And basically, they love solutionless problems, because that means constant consternation, bickering, fighting. All right, Jason, real quick before we go to Doug and Frank, I know they got a lot of questions too, but I got to ask you about what this means with Auburn recruiting. I know Auburn got a big one out of Wadley, Alabama the other day. Your kind of vision of what Auburn's been doing and what this means in terms of possible changes going forward.
Yeah. If it's still, and even with the changes, technically these are still supposed to be deals that have to get cleared. So they're still supposed to be legitimate business deals, and which means, maybe you have a bunch of $5,000 NIL deals, which in the grand scheme of things, okay, if that's what a collective wants to do. Will it get rid of the $250,000 deal for somebody to go shake somebody's hand and go, hey, here I am? If you can do that, then that's okay, because those aren't legitimate. That's not business. That's pay for play. So can you get rid of those things If you can do that, it's okay. And because then you can actually have legitimate say, hey, look, here's what we legitimately think you can make in year one. Not, hey, here's what we promise you you're going to make because we're just going to give it to you. Those are two different things. And so from an Auburn perspective, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Florida last year. You're recruiting. You don't have a lot of numbers. This wasn't going to be a huge class anyway. Now, if you go win games, then you'll add guys and you'll continue to pick up some steam. I think they got a chance to do that even in the next month or so. There's a few guys that are announcing to kind of get you going again. Was this ever going to be a top 10 class, in my opinion? No, because I don't think they're going to sign 35 guys. And right now, that's what it takes because we look at the top of this thing. Yeah, schools that are signing 30, 35 players. And so I think it'll be okay. And if you go win games, it'll be fine. And that's part of it. I think, like I said, it mirrors Florida a lot last year where they win some games at the end of the year last year. And all of a sudden you go, hey, they picked up some guys and recruiting pretty well. I think it's the same thing here. If you don't win, it's going to be a struggle, and no matter how much money you spend. But I do think that's part of this now. And here's the other part. If it gets blown up and they go, well, everything's good, there are no guardrails, no rules, then Auburn is prepared to spend money. Right now, that's still not the case. There's still here's the thing, College Sports Commission hasn't told anybody anything.
Yeah.
All these things have been said. There's still no guidance coming from them about the next step.
Only Matt Dillon could put it in the vernacular like that better, with honesty. Because you don't, Jason, I've known you a long time. You don't just say things to make people feel good. Doug, I know you wanted to add on.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Duff. We'll get back to you. Got to take on your old buddy, Tim Brando, picking Clemson. Are you kidding me in that opener? I think that's reverse psychology. Jason, good to see you. Love your work. Really love your work. And your head, as smart as you are, Jason, if I were you, my head would be spinning following all the legal ramblings and complexities of this deal. But is it just me, Jason, or is it, and I don't mean to pick on my fellow Auburn fans, but because there are other fan bases wringing their hands too, but it feels to me like the emotional reaction related to recruiting among a big swath of the Auburn fan base is based on a degree. It's like they think it's still 2021 or maybe 22, in which we freak out over your rankings in July or August. And it's of concern. I get it. But like you said so well, if you really do the math here and you understand that flipping, there's a reason we have a holiday called Flipmas, Merry Flipmas. Flipping became in vogue, and Hugh Freeze is among the best, his staff and he at flipping players. So if we were only going to procure about 12 to 15 more, you can adjust that number, then I think Auburn has the wherewithal to go buy, if you will, 7 to 8 very talented players that meet needs, and then flip another 5 or 6. And that won't get you in the top 5 or 10 because of numbers mainly, not unless you flip a bunch of 5 stars, which is not in the cards. So is the emotional reaction based on 20 years of habits of how recruiting used to work, and now Auburn is playing 3D chess in roster management more like the NFL, Jason?
Yeah, well, there's no question. Everything now is going towards an NFL model. We saw LSU kind of announce a couple of hires last week. Auburn has done it this week with a couple of hires, and now it is roster management, roster retention are two of the biggest parts of this. Then you start to talk about scouting, and this is not scouting in forever colleges, and it's why these staffs have had to grow so much, because it used to be the coaches, they could scout enough because they could recruit and they could go recruit high school guys, and they had time to do that. Well, now it is, you see NFL scouts, and NFL scouts now are on the road all season long going to watch college players. They're going to do these things. Well, now Auburn has hired Rex Hogan, who's a former NFL scout and a former NFL assistant GM. And his job is going to be to scout college players, not for the NFL, but for potential portal guys. God. That's the world we live in now. Yeah, that's what's happening. That's what LSU's doing. That's what you're doing. And you're not going to build a roster exclusively off those guys, but to ignore it would be to bury your head in the sand and to go, because you're not going to survive. Because you look, who are the biggest rosters and the most talented rosters in this country? It's Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Those teams are going to the portal too. If they're going to the portal, you better go to the portal.
Yeah.
Because if that's telling you anything right there, is that high school recruiting is not enough. So you got to do that. And so I think that's a big
And
part.
when you sign a top 3 class, more power to them. Kudos to those teams for great recruiting. You just bought yourself a big spend on retention a year later, didn't you?
Well, if this works the way it's supposed to, and you have a salary cap and you have those things, then absolutely. And so that's what Auburn has done, because they've done that the last 2 years. I just looked last night and people were talking about the size of this class. I went back and looked, and Auburn has 63 players with eligibility returning next season. Now, you won't keep all 63 of those, but you'd like to keep a bunch of them because they've had some really good recruiting classes the last 2 years.
That's a high-class problem. Duffy.
So when you're sophomore and freshman heavy, first of all, you're not going to sign as big a recruiting class because you don't have as much room. Second of all, you're going to go after some key transfer guys to fill holes, and they've recruited much better on the offensive line, but there's a chance you could lose 6 offensive linemen after this year, and all 6 of those guys potentially be NFL guys. You're going to go sign 3 or 4 older guys to bridge the gap with some of these young guys. That's just the way it works. So,
and Jason, that's exactly right. And, it goes to the old saying, Rob will tell you this in investing, it ain't what you make, it's what you keep.
yes.
And you got to defend against those guys leaving, and if not, you got to replace them. My question to you is: we've been hollering since I did the show from 30A right before the COVID season that we need some sort of regulation in this wild west mess that we've got. And you know what? We really didn't even get clarity yesterday, even with an executive office from the most powerful man in the entire planet. We still don't have any more clarity than what we did 2 days ago. Where do you see this? Do you think that we're going to eventually have to get some sort of actual legislation passed to rein this just freak show in? Because you're right, Jason. We've said this before. Buddy Martin has said it numerous times. We keep screwing around with this thing. You're going to lose the power brokers behind college athletics, and it's football especially, and that is the fans. That's where this thing is headed. And we got about 2 or 3 more shots left to get this thing right. And if not, you're going to start seeing people head for the exits. Where do you see this, Jason, this executive order? Where do you see it actually falling out into some actual legislation to put this mess to bed?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think these are the opportunities, because I don't think you have many more left. I agree. I think you have to figure out a way where somebody, eventually you're going to have to give somebody the opportunity to say, hey, look, I have the decision-making power, or we have the decision-making power to figure out what's the deal and what's not. Because if you say, hey, look, nope, that don't work, then there's only one more step for me. The only other step for me then is like, you're collective bargaining, you're an employee, here you go. And they don't want to do that.
Yeah, for business.
Too good. Yeah, there's never been, I posed this question this week. If you have an NFL player making $1 million and living in Los Angeles, or a college player making $100,000 and living in Auburn, Alabama, who has more money? Because here's the thing. The NFL player has a house payment. He's got bills to pay. He's got all these things to do. College player don't have anything. Zero. Anywhere. They have no bills to pay at all.
State income tax in California is 13 and a quarter. Remember,
you're paying tax on your money, but you don't have a house payment. You don't pay for food. You don't pay for bills. You're not paying for your school. You're not paying for anything.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, and I've said it, and I wrote it this week, and there's probably some kids that probably don't like me a whole lot because I said it, but I said, look, if you want real world money, then real world problems come along with that.
Yes.
Right now, you're getting real world money with no real world problems at all. So we're going to have to meet in the middle a little bit and go, okay, here you're getting the money, here you go, but we're not paying for this any longer.
Man.
So that's my solution. Then you go, okay, you're an employee, and it becomes semi-pro, semi-NFL football, whatever it is. We're almost there anyway, but at least there's, because then you go, okay, you got, here's a 2-year contract with a 3rd year option, and at least a guy's there for 2 years. So there's some protection that fixes most of the transfer portal issues, because then the guy cannot leave until his third year. So there's some protection. Here's where you're signing. You're going to be there for a third year. If you want to leave, you're paying us all our money back.
Jason, if we could just bring back the War Eagle Supper Club with no expenses, that $100,000 would go a long way, brother.
Hey, even right now it goes a long way. Because I think about it every day, going, well, not every day, but I'd love to have $6,000 or $7,000 at the end of the month to go, hey, what do I want to do with that money this month? That's
the cash I hide in my Scarnes gambling book just for when I go to Vegas. That's underneath the table.
Jason, you'll, I'm sure, have to be artful or just plead the fifth on this question. But is all of this is it steaming toward the precipitous end of the proverbial bagmen of the old days? I don't think so.
No. Now the bagmen are free and clear right now. That's the issue, I think. And here's part of what's happening too, is that there's a lot of states right now that high school kids can legally receive NIL money.
Wow.
Missouri.
Oh, there's just more than that. There's a bunch.
There's more than that. There's more than that. And that's been a conversation, Jason, that's been going on for a second.
That's it. Alabama.
What could possibly go wrong with that?
But because you can legally receive NIL money, you don't think people are going ahead and giving kids in high school money in the name of NIL? Absolutely.
Trent Seaborn.
Absolutely they are. And so
you just don't have to skulk around the back of the Dreamland anymore to do it.
Yeah, no. So and that's the thing. And here's the thing: in Alabama, it is technically not legal.
Technically,
but it is in a lot of other states. So, listen, Alabama 2 years ago lost its best two basketball players. They moved to Georgia. Caleb Holt's a 5-star, one of those guys. Colvin Landry was the other. Those guys moved to Georgia from Alabama, and Caleb Holt had won a couple of state titles at Buckhorn High School, and they were going to win another one. He was already a 5-star. Coleman Landry was at Thompson High School playing football and basketball. He won a state championship in football. Hey, it's worked out now. He's a high and a fast riser in the 26 basketball rankings. But those guys left and went to the state of Georgia.
Jason, I have a friend at an SEC school that helps to run a collective. He said, I'm going to prove to one of these kids what money is all about. The guy said he wanted to go buy an expensive car. He made him go to the bank and personally look at what $125,000 in cash looked like in the vault. He had a friend that owned the bank. That kid looked at that and he said, this is your stack. If you buy this vehicle, your stack's going to go from here down to there. And the guy goes, I'm not buying that damn car.
Real life economy.
Financial literacy. Or there's girl math. My wife, Audrey, if you'll spend another $183.75, you'll get free shipping. Well, save $10. But it's NIL math. Unless they're spending the money themselves. Because most wealthy people that we know, they do not drive Lamborghinis and Bugattis and stuff like that. They drive a car. To them is a means of transportation to get them from point A to point B. Jason, the depth chart for Auburn. Malcolm Simmons, we don't know what's going to happen with that. We know DJ Barber, and you chronicled his career at Clay Chalkville and Pinson so well. Let's talk about the roster, blocking and tackling. I mean, this is what we love. We're 35 days out from college football starting, Auburn at Baylor. Then last night, 34 days ago, we're going to have Missouri playing some directional school. I don't know which one, but let's talk about that roster right now down there on the plains, and then bounce around the SEC on the battle for Atlanta. And we'll let you go in a few minutes. I know you got a big day, but thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, I checked again with Michael Simmons. I think they just wait on and I think it's smart. You wait on people who have a lot more experience in investigating and making sure what's going on in this before you rush to a decision. The other one was easy. That was an easy decision. Yeah. These are much more difficult decisions. Yeah. So I think they're just waiting on that. The positive for Auburn is that the wide receiver position is probably the strength of this team. I would say
no doubt.
Wide receiver and then corner is the other one to me. Yeah. And I mentioned yesterday that Rayon Strader is a guy that was a college football All-American by College Football News last year and was the MAC Defensive Back of the Year. And he comes in to a group that already has Kayan Lee and Jay Crawford. You got Champ Anthony coming back. You have a couple of additions, and you added Rashawn Pleasant from Tulane as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got a really good group of DBs along with that safety group with Caleb Harris and Sylvester Smith and those freshmen coming back. I mean, I do think that's probably the two strengths of this team. But I think, and I mentioned offensive line. I did my 2-minute timeout this morning, just a short, quick video that I'm doing every day. And I said, look, Auburn had Willie Anderson in 1994. Started a trend. No, Wayne Gandy in 94, Willie Anderson in 96, and Victor Riley in 1998 were all first-round offensive tackles. Yeah, Greg Robinson was a first-round offensive tackle. That's the only one since 1998. Yeah. So Xavier Chaplin is a guy that has a chance to change a lot of history for Auburn. Marcus McNeil was second round. You've had some players, but that has not been a position where Auburn has had elite guys. And so, to me, the offensive line group has a chance to really change things for this team. But you got a talented roster, I believe, and even up front on defense is talented, but you got a lot of newcomers. There's only 2 interior defensive linemen back from last season, 2 guys. That's it. We went out and added transfers in a talented freshman class. Those guys had to hit the ground running against Baylor, and so. But I do think this roster is closer to competing against the top of the league than any Auburn roster in the last decade, in my opinion.
Jason, I love what you said about everybody's well aware, at least on paper, and it's not all on paper. We got to see Eric Singleton Jr. and Cam Coleman and several others show what they could do a year ago. And if you give some credit for the potential for improvement a year later, just getting a year older and maturing, then it's not all on paper. But to say that the corners and wide receivers are 2 strengths of this Auburn team, what I love about that is you've got a position, the wide receiver group gives you the potential for increasing explosive plays, big touchdowns or balls that get you in the red zone quickly. And then you've got the potential on the defensive side to prevent explosive plays compared to the problems we had with 3rd and long and others a year ago. So that might make Auburn ranked 11th by this media coming out of the SEC media days. It's fair game. Auburn that's probably a reflection of the last several years' misery. But, this is the same group of media that gave Vanderbilt several first place votes. Can you start having to disclose who you voted for? And I'd say the same thing about Auburn getting a number 1 vote. You can't justify that yet. Let's reevaluate in October. But you get my point about increasing explosive plays, reducing them defensively, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, look at other than Georgia. Georgia has done it differently. Georgia has won playing more old school football than most. It was defensive line, offensive line heavy, and they created some explosive plays in the passing game. But you think about, you go all the way back to Florida, go all the way back to Spurrier if you want to, and those teams, and you think about these LSU teams, and even Alabama after the first 2 or 3. But you can go to the first one. Julio Jones was an explosive playmaker. You think about all the things they got, all the things that mattered for Alabama. You think about, man, all these offensive linemen, look at all these defensive linemen. And yeah, they were good. But the difference was when they created explosive plays in the passing game, it changed things for them. That was the difference. And so you look at it, Auburn did it last year and started to do those things. Turnovers and red zone opportunities, kicking game, those are the spoilers for that team last year. But they created more explosive plays. I think that continues this year when you talk about the guys they've added and some of the newcomers. And so it's an interesting team. And, I do think, Doug, one of the things we have to keep in mind is being picked 11th is not 1992.
Yeah.
Because it's not a 12-team league.
Yeah.
I think last year the team that finished 11th in this league won 8 games. So if you win 8 games, you're in playoff discussion. Now you might not be in the playoffs, but at some point, if you're an 8-win team, you've probably snuck onto the rack, at least to be talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, you look, this is, and I'll say this is as favorable a schedule as an Auburn team is ever going to have. And you play Alabama and Georgia, and you're at Baylor, at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, at Vandy, and at Arkansas. but that's still as favorable a schedule as an Auburn team's
Yeah.
going to have. Because next year, look, this thing flips.
Tough next year.
And you roll those off the schedule. Next year, you could have at Alabama, at Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida, Tennessee.
Yeah.
That could be next year.
Yeah, and looking at it again, all this is on paper for now. I think Oklahoma is going to be pretty salty with that quarterback and OC they brought in. But September could prove to be the toughest stretch the whole season for 4 or 5 game stretch.
Yeah, the good thing is now, and it's the other part of college football that fans have to get used to. You can lose games. It's okay. You don't have to be 12-0. That's the other part now is if you lose one, I've heard people going, well, the Baylor game's a key game. There's no key game until you get until you get from 2 losses to 3 losses. Then that becomes your key game. There is no key game anymore.
That's the Waterloo.
So that has to get out of the mentality, I think, for fans too. It's like the first game of the season is not a key game. Who did Notre Dame lose to last year?
Northern Illinois.
That team played for the national championship.
Yeah.
If that's not a key game, then there's no key game in college football anymore.
And if you have a QB with a last name Manning, you get automatic points with the committee.
Yeah.
No doubt. Hey, Jason, I got one quick question for you. What is the Auburn's family's feelings and expectations now with Hugh Freeze going into year 3? Where does the peanut gallery stand? I know he caught a little crap this summer for playing golf a lot. I mean, I'm like, come on, guys, you gotta be kidding me. You're gonna kill a guy for going out and playing around, 3 hours of golf. Where does the Auburn family stand with the expectations going into what I think is going to be a much better year than what I thought they were picked at least 2 or 3 spots low at SEC Media Days. Where do you guys see it from just an emotional standpoint by the fan base?
Well, there's segments of every fan base. The segment of the fan base that still thinks it's 1988 is mad because they didn't win in year 1. And that's just honest. Like they're like, well, we should still be in the Coach Dye years. Well, it's not reality. First of all, because you had to rebuild an entire roster. I went and looked from the time they took this roster over. I think there's 7 players left. This is only year 3. There's 7 players left on that roster, which means you've turned this roster completely over, and they had to because they weren't going to be competitive. They've been competitive the first 2 years, not on the road, and that's the difference. Can you go be competitive on the road and give yourself a chance to win those games? And they haven't. They've struggled away from home, and so that's a big deal. That's the next step. I think this is a roster now that gives you a chance to do those things. But I think people, and I mentioned it. If you're 11th and you're 8-4, to me that's a step, and it's a step process. Now, the problem is that Auburn fans have been spoiled because 3 times in history they've gone from not very good to boom, shooting the moon, and all of a sudden you go, well, we don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't happen as much as it's happened in the past.
Yeah.
Can you get there? Yes. Do I think this team can win 9 games? I do. Because I think now, again, it comes back to and here's the other part of it is, I think we mentioned this before. My question has always been, are you good enough to win when you're not at your best? Because that's the difference between competing for championships and not being very good.
Yeah.
And because people always say, well, Alabama and Georgia don't have those games. No, they don't have those games because they're way more talented than that other team. They have those games. You just don't see it. But when you're not very talented and you have that game, you can lose to anybody.
And that was exactly on display against the Oklahoma game, which Auburn should have won that ball game going away.
And that's it.
You're exactly right.
When you're not as talented and you don't play well, then you can lose. We saw
even though you have them on the ropes.
And that's it. So I remember, I think back to Georgia, they win a national championship and blow the doors off everybody pretty much all season one year. The worst game they played was Kent State. I mean, they're struggling at halftime at home against Kent State. And you go, look, if that's Auburn and you play that game, you're down by 2 touchdowns because you're not as talented.
That 2010 Auburn team had 7 really close games. And, the dice rolled in their favor in all 7. But if you can reduce by a couple of games, Jason, the close games, then 8 or 9 wins becomes more realistic.
That's it. That's why, look, Nick Saban, his record in games decided by 8 points or less, no different than anybody else's.
Yeah.
The problem was for everybody else, he didn't have many of those.
Yeah.
But when you get to those games, everybody's going to lose their share. Everybody's going to win their share. Usually, you might lose them all. It's hard to win them all when they're close.
Jason, great stuff as always. Let people know how they can follow you, keep up with your content. I think you can help a lot of confused minds get back on track. You put it in the vernacular really well, but we'll have you on whenever we can. I know you got a busy schedule and school's about to start. I can't believe it.
We
It's
got
too hot.
2 weeks from today. School starts here in Alabama, but practice starts Wednesday. So
Wednesday.
Practice starts Wednesday. Heck, they start playing actual high school football games in Georgia August 15th.
Mm-hmm. All right,
hydrate.
Jason, how do they follow you, man? You're
check us out,
fantastic.
auburnundercover.com, part of 24/7. You can check us out there. Loading up and gearing up towards opening of practices. And then, as you can see, find me on Twitter at ITAT Jason.
Absolutely. I love the ode of respect to the past inside the Auburn Tigers.
Great work, Jason.
Great
Thanks,
work.
guys. Appreciate it.
All right, take care. I love this background. Save our sports. That executive order came down yesterday. Guys, man, you think about somebody talked about Florida last year. Florida was floating around in the 60s in recruiting, won like 6 of the last 7. And flipped guys like Dallas Wilson, who was from Tampa, who had committed to Oregon or even signed with them and got him back to Florida, ended up 7th in the country. Doug, you know it, and you know it, Frank and Brendan and everybody watching. If you win the game, if you win a bunch of games, it's fine. So, let's bounce around. I want to get bouncing around the SEC. There's 16 teams in this league. I'm going to throw my top 6 out there for you. In no particular order: Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. And then on the edge right there, and I'm saying Brian Kelly just is an enigma to me. I've got them probably losing 3 just because that's just what he does. Talent-wise, there's no excuse for it. So I put 7 and 8 probably South Carolina, Auburn, LSU kind of bunched up there together. And that's not even including Ole Miss and Tennessee. That's telling me this league is not going away.
Well, all I'm gonna tell you is I like my 5th-year starting quarterback.
Yeah,
you should.
And from what I'm hearing, again, that in the quarter will get you a local phone call if you can find an old payphone somewhere. Our defense is going to be a lot better, and I know we've heard that before under the Matt House debacle, but I really do think we're going to be in that top 6. I think Oklahoma might be a little high on that, Rob. I'm not sold on them. And look, Florida's got the baton death march of games they have to go through. I mean, if Florida can make it in the top 6, God bless them. You've absolutely done something. I think Auburn's going to surprise this year because I love y'all's wide receiver core. I'm quite envious of that. And look, don't forget, everybody's forgetting Tennessee, and I know they've got to go start over at quarterback, but they have, Heupel stockpiled a lot of talent there. So I think the only guarantees that you've got, I think you've got Georgia and Texas are the big gorillas that we're all going to have to kind of handle. And look, Alabama. When nobody's talking about Alabama, that's when Alabama should scare the living hell out of you when you're in the conference.
Yeah.
I think it's Texas's to lose, but let me tell you, Arch Manny's got a lot of growing up to do. It's a big difference from Newman is about 2 miles from where I grew up in New Orleans. That's a big difference playing on that field and being the man. Unlike Quinn Ewers. He's got a lot of proving to do in the SEC, and a stumble or two there opens it wide up. And look, Kirby Smart's just sitting there. Those big linemen on offense and defense haven't gone anywhere. They just reload with all the talent they've got. So I think your Oklahoma shot's a little too high, and man, I like my Tigers this year.
All right.
Rob's take was very chalky, but I think it has the potential to be a very chalky year when we get to December and see who the top 3 teams are. But I said this a year ago, and I'll give a version of it this year. Stone cold lock. There will not be an SEC team with fewer than 2 losses regular season.
Ooh.
Wow.
Two losses.
Okay.
And that, partly because, and I don't just mean SEC games. If you look at for several teams, the non-conference schedule, goodness, you guys, LSU starting with Clemson, that's reportedly a very solid championship contending Clemson team.
Oh yeah, they look
They're
good
going to
on
have to
paper.
show me, as I said, Timmy B, maybe trying to play reverse psychology, said, LSU may lose that game to Clemson. That's what he thinks, but that doesn't knock you out of anything. But here's what I think we would be well advised to go a little deeper, not just look at the logo of these teams and what they've done recently, like Georgia and Alabama, but could go all analytical here. Look at two things. You got to have an elite roster, a proven quarterback, and you got to believe that your head coach has done it before. And here's the problem with Auburn, to an extent, LSU, and I could add others, and really Kalen DeBoer. Now, if I'm a Bama fan, I'm going to want to say, well, he's proven he made the national championship game. I'm talking about prove it in the SEC.
Yeah,
following a legendary GOAT like he is, and I think DeBoer may well do that. I mean, I certainly respect the guy. He showed a lot last year. Problem is, I love Auburn's roster when you go too deep, but Hugh Freeze has got to go prove this year that Ole Miss, his performance there a couple of years was not a fluke, and that it hasn't passed him by. And so, and then really Sarkisian's got to prove not that he can win 11 games regular season, but he's got to prove that he won't blow the tough games. Like that Oklahoma game might be scary for them, not to mention their opener with Ohio State, if I've got my schedules right.
All right, let me throw this one next point. Great takes there, and that just shows you, because I follow LSU, Frank. I mean, you can follow them close, but Brian Kelly, the trend is predictive behavior trend. It's those 2 or 3 losses, but like Doug says, you could have 2 or 3 losses. You're going to be in the playoff discussion.
Well, let me tell you, you're going to get Brian Kelly's most attention because he's already said it. This is his most talented roster, top to bottom, that he's ever had, and that's including all of his stops, including Notre Dame and LSU. Yeah. So look,
I love LSU's team, Frank. I love him.
He's laid his own gauntlet out there. I mean, look, if he doesn't do it this year, he's got only one person to blame, and that's himself, because he's already pulled the hand grenade pin.
And your boy Matt Moscona ranted, and I loved his rant at the idiocy of not giving Nussmeier more credit as the best performing returning QB. I like South Carolina's quarterback, but his numbers really didn't match Nussmeier.
I think that was a psychological thing that was going on. I think he was channeling his inner Saban, which, by the way, they're not too damn far off. I think Kelly's going to usurp Saban's wins this year. I think if I remember correctly, I think it's like 8 or 9 wins. So the difference. So he'll pass the GOAT in the number of wins. So look, everything's set up this year.
It is.
And look, the last 2 times we've had fifth-year returning starting quarterbacks, they both walked away with trophies in New York City. So
it's a good point.
It's going to come down to the defense.
Nussmeier, no doubt, Garrett Nussmeier is a badass quarterback. And I think Lenore Sellers is really good, but there's that 30-game metrics or whatever that the NFL, I think David Bartu, Anwar Richardson comes on our show, orangebloods.com, covers Texas and the 40 acres. That's a big number. Doug, you look at a lot of predictive behavioral charts and graphs. And by the way, Dave Bartu was on Monday. Those lights out gummies, by the way. If you have trouble sleeping, try these lights out gummies. They're absolutely amazing. You will sleep like you're a 9-year-old kid, not thinking about bills and deadlines and payroll. So they're great.
You have to worry about getting drug screened at your company?
No, I mean, they're legal in all 50 states. So, but let me say, Doug, let's ask you this. And Brad Bellamy's going to come on about 5 or 10 minutes from Landers Ford in Memphis. But Doug, looking at the SEC, I got to talk to Diego Pavia. And I asked him one question at Media Days. I said, what did you learn about taking care of your body from year 1 that you're going to apply to year 2? And he goes, I got to know when to take a slide, So give me some surprises, you salty dog. Speaking of, man, I wish I was at Ted's, by the way, eating lunch today in Birmingham. That was great. But give me
I'm
some surprises.
Headed to Kenai, Alaska tomorrow, so I may still be able to hop on with y'all. I'll have Wi-Fi in the King Salmon Doe Lodge. These guys, Frank, are from Lafayette. Am I saying that right? Louisiana.
Lafayette, yeah.
And they got enamored with the Kenai River and bought I think like a $3 million waterfront lodge on the Kenai River. And I've been watching the sonar counts. Yesterday were like 230,000 sockeye salmon that passed the sonar on the Kenai River because they've shut down the commercial fishermen. They're trying to bring the king salmon population back. So we're going at the right time. No skill required to catch these fish.
I was going to say, it's going to be you and the grizzly bears wading out there, scooping them up, putting them in the bucket.
Doug, is this
Anybody
better?
ever been there knows what do you want me to talk about? Teams or players or what, Rob?
What, by the way, is that better than Rockbridge?
It's fishing in a barrel.
I want you.
They don't call that fishing; they call that catching.
Yeah, catching. Right. But by the way, get you one of these hats at Hewlett and Dunn. It's the best hat. Wear that salmon fishing. Yeah, I had a girl ask me one time, "Did you catch any ducks today?" I'm like, "No, but I killed a few." But, Doug, give me a surprise or two in the SEC. Arkansas, year 2 under Robert Petrino, Talon Green should be better if you look at history, predictive behavior.
Again, I think some people that really are drinking the Texas Kool-Aid or Georgia or Alabama Kool-Aid, and I don't blame them. They've got the roster and depth chart and in most cases elite coaching and quarterback play to believe in their teams. But I think the big surprise, it shouldn't be a surprise, but when you start to see SEC teams falling early, when we get to October, I bet there will be entering October. Not going to shock me if there's only about 2 or 3 teams that remain undefeated in the SEC.
Call that the Ole Miss effect.
Yeah, go look at the schedule. I think that I'll probably draw some fire on this the first time he drops an inexplicable game going for it on 4th and 5. But I think all the pressure was on Lane Kiffin a year ago to, close the deal, make the playoff as the floor. And he wasn't quite. I think he got mistreated by the selection committee. These guys that if they don't like who they're getting, they say, well, we're going to use the eye test now, Frank. And then their eyes were 50-50 vision, as Coach Dye would say. But I think Kiffin may rise up and get to 9 wins. And if you look at schedules, I think this is the year that the right SEC team with 9 wins sneaks in the playoff, and that I think that may be Ole Miss what's reparation, if you will, from a year ago. And I think, boy, this is Homer. I hate it, but I just don't believe Hugh Freeze is as bad as the last 2 years. And I think he's been forced to focus solely on his football team because John Cohen, with his best interpretation, put these recruiting guardrails around him. And if you don't have time to visit and recruit players because you don't have 7 figures to offer them yet, then you spend your time coaching or, dare I say, also playing golf, working on your Jim Furyk swing, which is really ugly. Quit with that. Stop with that Furyk swing, Hugh. Stop with that. You look like Barkley.
I'll add this too. If you're not doing something like running or swimming or biking or playing golf or something, you're going to lose your mind anyway. So if he's on the golf course,
I don't have any problem with it.
I don't either.
Nobody gives Lane Kiffin shit for being out in Boca Raton on his charter boat. Or
going for the Grand Slam fishing. You know what? You got to have ways. Like some of the best conversations I ever have are biking, hiking. Sure. In a duck blind, that's where you get it done. Frank,
fishing.
Let's one more quick one, Rob. I'm not going to be shocked if Thanksgiving week, which would really be electric. We're talking about Auburn and Alabama both. This probably won't endear me to Bama guys, but I still enormously respect that program. It's a dynasty. Yeah. But that you see both Auburn and Alabama 8-3. As we sit down to eat our Thanksgiving turkey. Winner of the Iron Bowl is sitting with a chance to sneak in. So if Alabama beats Georgia, have to reevaluate that. Then they're a team that has a chance to only lose one game potentially.
Yeah, and this is such a big game too. In the last 10 matchups, Georgia is 1-9 against Alabama.
Yeah.
All right, Frank, are you going to be there
Psychological.
at Memorial Stadium, LSU at Clemson?
With bells on. I
Okay.
cannot wait. I'm excited. We've already got all of our plans set up. I'm not bringing the RV. A good buddy of ours, Bengal One, is staying in the barn.
In the
But
hangar.
but here's the thing. That's the reason we can is that I got a buddy that's got a big Mac Daddy lake house that's about maybe 30 minutes from Clemson. And we're going to be having cocktails out, like we did with Doug's, on Lake Martin before the LSU Auburn game several years ago. We're going to be sitting out having cocktails. We've got a really cool bus that's going to take us right up to the door you get so close you could spit on Frank Howard's rock. I don't plan on doing that, just for the record.
I would not do that.
And there's going to be a really great tailgate that our Clemson friends, we've got a lot of Clemson friends that are going to be throwing for the LSU people. Literally, when I'm telling you, you could stumble, and many of us will, into the stadium from where that tailgate is. So our plans are all set. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Week 0 cannot get here quick enough. My only consternation is I'm going in with an 0-5 record in openers over the last 5 years. And the old saying, going back to the year right before this damn record started, when we went 15-0, you can't go 15-0 if you don't win the first one.
That's
so
right.
Everything is pointing toward this. Every LSU weight station, every LSU tackling dummy, every LSU blocking sled has a Clemson logo sitting on it right now, and underneath it is the phrase ON5, and it's sitting right underneath there. So they're going to get our best. They're going to get our attention. There's no more sleepwalking. It's not like it'll be Mississippi State coming in and running up 800 yards of offense on us as we're unfurling our national championship banner, and it's been downhill in openers ever since. So, yes, I will be there. LSU's coming. But what Coach O say, we coming. And we ain't back down. We coming. So, it'll be a lot of folks that are coming up from Louisiana for the game. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That one's a must-watch early season.
Yeah.
All right,
the whole day. There's 4 incredible games that whole day. Lock and load. I'm kind of that's
the night before.
Correct. The only bad thing about going is I'm not going to be probably in a position to sit in a quiet, dark room and listen to all 4 of those games, which frankly I love to do. But I promise you, the DVR will be set.
Well, let me throw this. A school we didn't mention is Missouri. They just locked in Eli Drinkwitz to a long-term contract for what a contract is worth in today's world. But I asked him at media days about the money spent. I said, in excess of $200 million, stadium improvements. No, it's $300 million plus. They've got the Cronkies involved. They're starting to swing the big bats at Missouri. As long as Eli's there, guys, I think it's fair to say the floor is 8 or 9 wins. The guy can flat out coach. He's genuinely, he just tells you what he thinks. And I'm going to tell you what, he went up to our daughter, Mallory's roommate, Jessica, had the twins, Alex and Fitz, there, and took pictures with them, signed autographs, signed their helmets. And so was Mark Stoops, by the way. Both of those guys made a beeline to Alex and Fitz. And we're going to, these kids take every football game matchup every weekend in college and put the helmets together. Jessica has an Amazon account. She's bought over 450 of those helmets. But hey,
well, good thing they got Mark Stoops' signature this year, because I think this is his last in Kentucky. I think he's going to have a tough go this year.
Yeah,
Kentucky,
see what they did? They've allocated 4. Sorry to walk on you, Frank. They at Kentucky, and it's kind of a smart play. They're going to allocate 45% of their revenue to basketball, which by definition means Mark Stoops waved the white flag in football. But you could ask, why aren't more schools there's no way Kentucky can buy its way into a 10-win season in football. So you might as well be all in for the sport that their fans really care about.
Well, they did it twice under Stoops in that 4-year period, winning 10 games. But you're right, Doug. That acquiesce and capitulation right there.
The 3 stocks I'm shorting is going to be Kentucky, it's Arkansas. And, everybody kind of fell in love with Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt takes a step back again this year as well.
Well, Pavia, he ain't going to sneak up on anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
Someone else who's going to ride in style,
Right.
who's been on vacation, who's been working harder than 3 dozen Mennonite farmers. Brad Bellamy, the general manager at Landers Ford, where Collierville and Germantown come together. Brad, before we talk some sports, tell us real quick what's going on at Landers and what people can expect when they come out there, besides the greatest buying experience ever in their lives.
Good morning, guys. Glad to be back
buddy.
this morning. So between me being on vacation, you guys being at media days, it's been a few weeks. I felt like when I was sitting in the queue, you guys had forgotten. Hey, we are super excited. One of the big things that we have once a year is supporting the FedEx St. Jude first round of the playoffs golf tournament. And as part of that partnership we have with them, we provide all the vehicles the pros drive the entire week. And so we got a huge promotion that's going to come out of that. Customers can come in now and tag those units. But when they come back on August 10th or August 11th, we're going to have you pay what we pay. So invoice pricing on all of the tournament expeditions and explorers, which is huge because we've not had any expeditions on any type of discount. But we're launching that with this program. So you pay what we pay, invoice price on all expeditions and explorers that are part of the FedEx St. Jude golf tournament. We've had that partnership now for 20 years. We love working with the tour and we love working with the tournament here. We are the only local dealer that 100% supports a PGA golf tournament event. And so it's been a great experience for us. Had wonderful interactions with a lot of the pros, and they take great care of these vehicles. They treat them like their own. And now that it's a smaller field and it's part of the playoffs, these guys don't spend as much time with extracurricular activities like they used to do. So there's fewer folks are taking these to Tunica to go. One, because a lot of their apps allow for them to do it now, but two, they want to win this tournament. Big prize, big purse, and they want to get to the next round of the playoffs and try to win the whole.
And the FedEx is so much fun. I remember we went there, a couple buddies of mine, and all I can remember is on the Friday or Saturday night, I wound up waking up on a couch on the top of the roof of the Peabody Hotel, and I don't quite remember how I got there. That's how much fun we had at the FedEx.
Yeah. Well, and Brad, y'all got, there's a lot happening now, college football. I know when people come in, we've been talking about our top 6 picks in the SEC. I did it. Frank did it. Doug did it. Give us your top 6 in the SEC going into this season. In no particular order, by the way.
Are we picking on finish or are we picking on the best 6 teams? Because I think those are 2 different things this year.
On finish.
Okay. I think LSU and A&M are there. I'm going to go Texas. I'm going to go LSU. I'm going to go A&M. I'm going to go Alabama. I'm going to go Georgia. And is that 5 at that point?
Need one more for the 6-pack.
You know what? Did I say Florida yet? I'm going to go Florida. Even though I think that's the longer shot, just because is the quarterback going to stay healthy?
And that schedule.
But if they play like they did the back half of the year, I think that they can be there. They just got a tough schedule. And
those are solid picks, Brad. Good to see you, Brad. I hope business is good. Business is good for y'all. I think all of us should watch early season. I think the human tendency is to look at rosters and because players win games. I get it, but there to me the interesting subplots are there's no shortage of head coaches that still have to prove, even when they have elite rosters, what they can go do in this brutal SEC. And as Jason Caldwell said early on the show, it's okay to lose a game or 2, but boy, it needs to be the right games where you don't put yourself in position that you have to run the table from October through the end of November, which is virtually impossible.
Correct.
Yeah. Brad, and everybody watching, you think about a surprise team. You got a surprise team or 2. We've all done that as well. It's Surprise Friday.
I think Brent Venables has to have a good year for him to still have a job. I mean, that's been one of the surprising things. We had the spring season of the Touchdown Club, and so
Yeah.
Greg McElroy come in. We had Roman Harper come in, Cole Kublik come in. None of them really talked about many coaches on the hot seat. They kind of acted like there weren't anybody on the hot seat. But I think maybe they're too close or too friendly with some of these guys to want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
But I mean, Venables doesn't have a good year. He's not going to last in Oklahoma. I don't see it happening. I think same thing as Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Auburn doesn't have a good year with all the money they're spending, and they go 7-5, 8-4. I think it's going to be tough for him to continue to be able to. I mean, it might be real hot next year, and he might be hot this year. But I mean, I think we got a couple of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednegos in the fiery furnace right now.
Well,
I couldn't agree. I'm not mad, Brad. I completely agree. Freeze has got to. I sort of vomit on the idea of 8 wins. That's probably not fair.
Yeah,
it's not fair in the SEC. And Auburn's still rebuilding. But I think with the schedule Auburn has, Freeze needs to find a way to get to 9. And you can lose to Georgia and Alabama. People understand the depth and talent of those teams. But, if you do, then going into next year, it gets really tough with your schedule. So this is a year Freeze needs to get a 9-3 regular season on his resume fast.
But and look, I don't want to be a barrister for Auburn because I don't think they need my help. But I will stand up for Freeze and Auburn in this point. He inherited a mess from Potato Boy, and I would think that they would at least. I mean, look, I know Auburn gets itchy on the trigger finger from times. As long as there's no planes on the tarmac, I think he's okay. I think he's safe. But I would think that they would at least give him 4 years, a complete cycle, a complete recruiting class cycle before they would do that. I mean, I would think it would take the wheels totally coming off the wagon. And I don't see it with that offense. Their offense is potent enough to have them get. And look, Auburn only needed to win 2 of those close games that they lost 2 close games last year, especially that Oklahoma game. I watched every
my kingdom for a field goal kicker.
Yeah, I mean, I watched every damn play of that game. That should have been an Auburn win. So I think that would be a little bit tricky. And now I think Stoops is in deep trouble. And let me tell you, Kelly could be in trouble as well because he came out and said this is my best roster. So I think there are coaches on the hot seat, and surprisingly, I don't think Billy Napier's on the hot seat. I think that last that half of the season last year with as tough of a schedule as you'll ever have has kind of gotten him off of it a little bit. But I just don't see Auburn pulling the trigger on Freeze after 3 years. I just
there
don't
you
see
go
it.
being rational again.
Yeah. I mean, you got Sam Pittman out there. At what point in time is Arkansas going to say 6 wins isn't enough? Mississippi State,
that's coming too.
Here, I mean, they're putting money behind players. I mean, the quarterback Blake Shapen got more money this year than the year before. I mean, they're trying, but if they only get 1 win, and there's no movement forward, and that's the thing with Auburn last year. I mean, it's sometimes it's not about your win and loss record. It's about you losing the games you should have won.
Yes.
And you games away. They played Georgia. They didn't win the game, but they look good. But then they choke away. How many games last year could they not close out that they had the game?
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah, we got less than a minute left. I just want to say, get out to Hewlett and Dunn also this weekend. Get your Ranger little turtle box, the mini turtle box, and get out there to Landers Ford, people. Brad Bellamy, you going to be there tomorrow?
I will be here in the morning. Come out, check out the units before they go to the tournament. They're leaving Wednesday. You can come check them out. You can tag them. You can deposit them. And you can be ready to buy them when they get out of the tournament. But we have them here for you to check out. We also got great deals on F-150s. We got 0-48 programs out there and great lease deals. Had a lot of Bronco leases this month, guys. And then don't forget, with the federal government changing their laws, the tax incentives are going away. And so we got some really good programs right now on Lightning and Mach-E before any tax assistance goes away on EVs.
And go buy some of those FedEx cars because you don't know. Brooks Koepka's my wife might have been sitting in it.
That's right.
Hey Rob, super quick, but can I, as a PSA, if y'all have not, make a point of watching Wishbone, the show on SEC Network. You would not have it happen today. Darrell Royal gave away the playbook. They would have figured it out eventually. Handed it to Barry Switzer, then an assistant for Chuck Fairbanks, and Oklahoma went on to just disassemble them. There.
It's going to be big. We ran out of time. Guys. Awesome show, everybody. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
See you guys.